In 1954, the United States Senate held hearings to investigate whether comic books were turning American children into criminals. I'm not exaggerating. Real hearings, expert testimony, a best-selling book by a psychiatrist arguing that Batman and Superman were corrupting the youth. Comic books were burned in actual bonfires by parents and teachers who were completely certain they were protecting their kids from something dangerous. They were wrong, obviously. Completely. Comic books did not create a generation of criminals. Today, we build billion-dollar movies out of the exact characters they were burning. But here's what I can't stop thinking about. The people at those hearings didn't feel like fools. They felt like heroes. They felt exactly the way you feel right now when you worry about your kid's phone. Certain, protective, right. And they were wrong. This is a video about the panic that comes for every single generation. The absolute certainty that the new thing is destroying the young. It's happened over and over for thousands of years, and it's been wrong almost every time. Almost. And that word, almost, is the most important word in this video. Because the one time the panic is real, it looks exactly like all the times it wasn't. Let me show you. Start at the beginning. 2,400 years ago, Socrates, the smartest man in Athens, was terrified of a dangerous new technology he believed would destroy young minds: writing. He argued that if people started writing things down, they'd stop using their memory, they'd grow forgetful, they'd have the appearance of wisdom without the reality of it. Real knowledge lived in the mind, and this new writing thing would hollow it all out. He refused to write anything down. Everything we know about Socrates, we know because his student Plato wrote it down. And then it just kept happening. The printing press would spread dangerous ideas and tear society apart. Novels would corrupt young women, fill their heads with fantasy, make them unfit for real life. There was a genuine panic about reading addiction in the 1700s. The waltz was scandalous. Rock and roll was the devil's music. Elvis could only be filmed from the waist up. Dungeons and Dragons caused Satanism and suicide. There were news specials, church sermons. Parents convinced a dice game was a doorway to hell. Television would rot your brain and destroy the family. Video games would breed a generation of violent killers. The internet would make us stupid, shallow, and incapable of real connection. Every single time, total certainty, real fear. Hearings, bans, burnings, sermons, best-selling books by credentialed experts. And every single time, the kids grew up and turned out basically fine. A little different from their parents, but fine. So you'd think the lesson is obvious. Relax. The panic is always wrong. The kids are always okay. Every generation of worried parents has been the punchline, and you don't want to be the next one. Except that's not actually true, because sometimes the panic was right. For decades, people warned that cigarettes were killing us, and plenty of people rolled their eyes. Doctors appeared in cigarette ads. Everyone smoked. It was fine. Stop panicking. The worriers were called hysterical. The worriers were right. Cigarettes killed tens of millions of people. Leaded gasoline. For 50 years, we pumped lead into the air through car exhaust, and the people who warned it was poisoning children, lowering their IQs, damaging their brains, were dismissed as alarmists. They were right. We now believe leaded gasoline may have damaged the brains of an entire generation. Asbestos, lead paint. Sometimes the thing everyone was told to calm down about really was hurting people. And the panic, the annoying, alarmist, killjoy panic, was the thing that eventually saved lives. So now we have a problem, because we can't use the simple rule. Every panic is wrong, is false. Some panics were the most important warnings we ever got, but every panic is right is also false. Most of them were embarrassing nonsense. We don't have a rule, we have a coin flip, and we've been getting it wrong in both directions for centuries, dismissing the real threats and panicking about the harmless ones. So the question becomes, how do you tell the difference? Here's the pattern I think actually explains it. A moral panic is almost always right that something is being lost. It's just usually wrong about the catastrophe because it can't see what's being gained. Go back to Socrates. He was right. Writing really did weaken human memory. Before writing, people memorized entire epics, thousands of lines, word for word. That capacity is essentially gone now. Socrates correctly spotted a real loss. What he couldn't see was the library, the university, the internet, civilization-scale knowledge, stored and shared across thousands of years. He saw the loss perfectly. He just had no way to weigh it against a gain that hadn't been invented yet. Same with television. The panic was right. TV really did cut into family conversation, really did reduce reading. Those losses were real. The panic just couldn't see the shared culture, the news reaching millions at once, the genuine art that television would eventually produce. That's the actual nature of a moral panic. It isn't pure hysteria. It's a true observation wrapped in a false prophecy. The observation, we're losing something, is usually correct. The prophecy, and therefore we're doomed, is usually wrong, because the future keeps arriving with gifts the worriers couldn't imagine. So when someone says every generation panicked and they were all wrong, they're missing it. The panickers weren't wrong about the loss. Those are very different things. So here we are, smartphones, social media, and now AI, arriving faster than any technology in human history. And everyone is panicking. Maybe you're panicking. Maybe you're watching a kid disappear into a screen and feeling the exact certainty the comic book parents felt, the certainty Socrates felt. This one is different. This one is really taking something. And you might be right. In fact, going by the pattern, you probably are right about the loss. Something is being lost. The ability to be bored, to be alone, to be unreachable, to remember, to sit with a single thought. These losses look real. Honestly, they look like the realest losses yet. But that's exactly what every generation said. Every one of them pointed at a real loss and felt this same certainty. And most of them, not all, but most, were wrong about the catastrophe because they couldn't see the gift the future was about to hand them. And here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. There is no way to tell from the inside whether you're the comic book parent or the cigarette warner, whether you're panicking over nothing or sounding the one alarm history will thank you for, because they feel identical. The cigarette warner and the comic book burner had the exact same feeling of certainty. One turned out to be a hero, one turned out to be a fool, and neither of them could tell which one they were while it was happening. We are inside that feeling right now, all of us, and we can't see out. Which brings me to something I have to be honest about. This channel is a moral panic. Every video I've made is the same shape as those comic book hearings. Everyone says, look at this beautiful thing we used to have. Look at what the screens are taking from us. I am, right now, the man on the church steps warning you about rock and roll. The psychiatrist with the best-selling book about Batman. I am doing the exact thing this entire video is about. And I genuinely don't know if I'm right. Maybe I'm correctly naming a real loss, the way they always did. And maybe I'm wrong about the catastrophe, the way they almost always were. Maybe in 30 years, a video like this one looks as silly as Elvis being filmed from the waist up, and the kids on the phones grow up basically fine and inherit some gift from all of this that I'm simply too close to see. Or maybe this is the cigarettes. Maybe this is the one time the worriers were right. I can't tell you which, and nobody watching this can either. That's not a cop-out. It's the actual condition we're living in. We are all making a bet about our own moment, using the same feeling of certainty that has fooled every generation before us, with no way to see the result. So here's the only honest thing I can offer you. When you feel certain the screens are destroying everything, or certain everyone needs to calm down, remember that certainty itself is the one thing every generation had in common, and half of them were wrong. The honest position isn't panic, and it isn't dismissal. It's the hard, uncomfortable middle. Take the loss seriously, and stay humble about the catastrophe. Pay attention, without pretending you can see the ending. Maybe the most radical thing you can do, in an age that desperately wants you either outraged or numb, is to say, something is being lost. I'm paying attention to it, and I don't yet know if I'm right. The thing you're most certain about right now, about phones, about AI, about kids, about screens, are you the cigarette warner or the comic book parent? You can't know for sure, but I want to hear which one you'd bet you are. Drop it in the comments.